Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Earthbound Servant Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. This is the new support for the Earthbound Immortal related deck that focuses on being able to fusion summon and synchro summon out a bunch of different Earthbound Servant monsters. They look very similar to the Nazca line themed Earthbound Immortals used in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D series. These ones were from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 series used by Sergei, one of the antagonists from the Synchro world, using both Fusion and Synchro with his Harmonics Synchro Fusion spell. A really awesome way to get both a Fusion and also a Synchro monster out at the exact same time. So very, very happy with the results of the deck and its playstyle. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the Earthbound monsters, we are running 3 copies of Earthbound Prisoner Line Walker. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Earthbound Prison or 1 Harmonic Synchro Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If you control a level 6 or higher Earthbound monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. That was special summon from the extra deck. Shuffle that face-up effect monster into the extra deck, then your opponent can special summon 1 monster with the same name from their extra deck. You can only use each effect of Earthbound Prison Line Walker once per turn, but being able just to take away a resource to get another one onto your opponent's field isn't the best effect that we want to use in the deck. It's mostly the search effect, being able to add our main go-to spell for our plays, which is our Harmonic Synchro Fusion, but also being able to add Earthbound Prison just gives us options if we already have the other spell in our hand, but we also can add it back from our graveyard using this card, and it's our main play, as I mentioned before, and it is also a tuner, so we use our Line Walker for some of our synchro plays. Also 3 copies of Earthbound Prisoner Groundkeeper, another tuner monster. If it's normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 level 5 or lower Earthbound monster from your deck or graveyard, except for Earthbound Prison Groundkeeper. You can also not special summon from the X deck for the rest of this turn, except for Fusion or Synchro monsters. You can only use this effect of Prison Groundkeeper once per turn, and Earthbound monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect if there is a card in the field zone, which there will be if we have our Earthbound Prison on the field. But just being able to grab another Earthbound monster definitely does help, which is setting up more and more of our plays on the field. One of those monsters that we can summon out is the last of our Earthbound Prisoner monsters, which is our Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper. If there's a card in the field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper once per turn this way. You can discard this card to add 1 level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your deck to your hand, so this card can search out either Groundkeeper or our Line Walker from our deck to our hand using this card. Also, you cannot special summon from the X deck for the rest of this turn, except for Fusion or Synchro, which is the only cards we're running in our extra deck to begin with, so no worries there with that play. You can only use this effect of Stone Sweeper once per turn, but Search Power, set up on the field, you name it, this level 5 monster can then be used for the level 6 Synchro plays and the level 8 Synchro plays with both of the Line Walker and the Groundkeeper tuners that we run in the deck as well. For more additional setup for some of the higher level Synchro monsters we run, also 3 copies of Assault Synchron. During the main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand, then take 700 points of damage. While it's face up in the monster zone, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except for Synchro monsters. If a face-up Dragon Synchro you control is tributed or banished, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 of those monsters, and special summon it, giving you resources back. But the main play with Assault Synchron is to then be able to get out our Earthbound Servant Yugioh Griffin if we used our other monsters to go into Yugioh Gremlin, being a level 6 monster, and also needing a Dark Tuner, which Assault Synchron also fits into that spot for its plays to be able to be summoned out. Also 2 copies of Vision Resonator. If a level 5 or higher dark monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Vision Resonator once per turn this way, but just another way to easily summon out a tuner monster on the field if we don't have the Assault Synchron, to then just keep climbing up into our higher and higher Synchro plays to go into. For some of the other level 5 monsters, because once again, having a level 3 tuner in Line Walker and level 1 in Groundkeeper, we want to have some level 5 non-tuners to use, like our Stone Sweeper, to be able to easily summon out onto the field to then use for our synchro plays, not taking up our normal summon with those tuner monsters wanting to be the normal summon. So 3 copies of Red Layer as just another special summon monster if you control no monsters. So you can summon out your Red Layer onto the field and then be able to get out your tuner monster with your normal summon to then go for that synchro play. and then also 2 copies of Cyber Dragon as well. Now this is good because the specifications don't require a dark non-tuner monster for our synchros, so we can use them quite easily for our plays, just needing the setup for those monsters using our Cyber Dragon as an additional synchro play to summon out our Earthbound synchro monsters, and also 1 copy of Psyframe Gamma and the 1 copy of Psyframe Driver as just another level 8 synchro play to summon out onto the field depending on the synchro monster that we may want to summon out, giving us a variety of monsters to be able to summon out onto the field using these 2 cards. And then lastly, the 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just for the hand trap of choice, along with Infinite Impermanence for the main deck to stop any of the searches or graveyard setup that our opponent may try to do. Moving on now to the spells, I run the 1 copy of Harmonic Synchro Fusion. You really only need the 1 copy because you can search this card with your Earthbound Prison Linewalker, and your Prison Linewalker can be searched off of Stone Sweeper. You have plenty of search to get to this spell. You send 1 tuner monster or 1 non-tuner face up on your field of the graveyard to special summon both the following from the extra deck: 1 synchro monster that could be synchro summoned using just those 2 monsters, and 1 fusion monster that could be fusion summoned using just those 2 monsters for the graveyard as material. You cannot special summon from the extra deck until you activate this, except for fusion or synchro monsters, and you can activate 1 harmonic synchro fusion per turn, but you still have access to 2 different summons using just 2 monster resources that you had on the field, which are Earthbound Fusion monsters require cards like 2 Earthbound monsters to summon out, so you have the fusion requirements there, and then also the synchro requirements depending on the synchro monster you want to summon out and the tuners you have on the field along with the other monster. And then I also run 2 copies of Earthbound Prison. Having the field spell means we can summon out our Stone Sweeper onto the field as a special summon, and when this card is activated, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. This card gains the effect while it's in the field zone, negate the effects of that face-up monster while it's on the field, and during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Earthbound monster in addition to your normal summoner set. So on top of that, you have your Linewalker search, and then if you normal summon out your Groundkeeper, you have the summon of your other Earthbound monster to then give you the needed play you may want to go for depending on the other cards you have. You'll get the search from the Linewalker and then the additional Groundkeeper also. And then also the 1 copy of Ready Fusion and the 1 copy of Instant Fusion. We just have more targets for monsters to be able to summon out onto the field using these cards to then use for either our synchro plays to summon out, just needing non-tuner monsters as I said before, so easy targets to summon out onto the field to use. And then also the 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent for the additional option if our opponent does stop any of our searches, one of our most important ones being the Linewalker search, because it grabs us our Harmonic Synchro Fusion. So if they do stop this, we can at least take 1 of their cards to potentially use for the synchro play with our level 3 tuner, or take 1 of their own cards, or draw into something that can at least help us extend our plays. 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet, just with some of the extra resources we may summon out into the field to stop our opponent's card effects and also weaken their own monsters. And for the 1-ofs for the spells, 1 copy of 1 for 1 to grab our Groundkeeper, since it can even be special summoned to then summon out an additional monster on the field, making up for the monster discard for 1 for 1. 1 Snatch and Steal, once again like the Triple Tactics Talent, just taking our opponent's resources to use. The 1 Call by the Grave and the 1 Harpy Feather Duster to finish off the spell lineup, with our only trap being the 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just the hand trap of choice on top of Ash Blossom as well. We don't want to run too many hand traps in this. We wanted to keep it as full as we could for the actual synchro setup, because this deck does play very, very similarly to a synchron build, needing those monsters for the non-tuner and tuner setups. Moving on now to the extra deck. For our fusion monsters, we run the 1 copy of Earthbound Servant Geokraken, needing 2 Earthbound monsters. If this card's special summoned, you can add 1 field spell card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So you can add your Earthbound Prison with this card. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck, except during the damage step, you can destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible that were special summoned this turn. If you do inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed, you can only use each effect of Geokraken once per turn, but you have a 2800 boss monster to be able to summon out, just needing 2 Earthbound monsters with Harmonic Synchro Fusion. It can be done pretty easily as well, with our other fusion being our Yugioh Gremlina, needing an Earthbound monster and 1 Dark monster. So we have other options to use for the fusion play. Let's say if we do have cards like our Vision Resonator or our Assault Synchron for the also to use for our synchro play and our fusion play. If it's special summon, you can add 1 Earthbound monster from your deck to your hand. You can target 1 Dark Synchro monster you control. It can attack directly this turn. And if a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by an Earthbound card, except during the damage step, you can target 1 of those destroyed monsters and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attacks. For more big burn damage, this card came out in Age of Overlord, but still a great addition to the deck, with our bigger boss monster being the Earthbound Servant Yugioh, needing 1 Earthbound Fusion and 1 Synchro monster to make it. So you'll summon this card out by adding back the Harmonic Synchro Fusion to then reuse with the 2 monsters that you summoned out using your summon of this card, but also potentially being able to get out a bigger monster as well. On top of this card, the star damage step, if this card battles a monster, change that monster attack and defense to 0. If a monster your opponent's possession is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. You can use this effect of Yugioh once per turn, and if this face-up card in the opponent's field leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Earthbound monster from your deck or extra deck, giving you access to other Earthbound monsters you may not have summoned off of the initial play of this card. Also, the 1 copy of Dragoness, the Wicked Knight, and the 1 Yugioh for the ready fusion and instant fusion targets. And for the Synchro summons, which I would say are a little more prominent and easier to summon off in this deck, 2 copies of Earthbound Servant Yugioh. Quick effect, you can special summon 1 Earthbound monster from your graveyard in defense, except for Servant Yugioh. Being able to grab any of our Earthbound monsters to then gain their additional search effects can help us to then reuse the search effects to re-grab Harmonic Synchro Fusion from our graveyard back to our hand as well. You're locked into Fusion and Synchros for the rest of the turn, but if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can destroy 1 card in the field and inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Earthbound monster with a different name in your field or graveyard. So burn damage on top of it for this level 8 Synchro monster. 2 copies of Yugioh for our Synchro monster. During the main phase, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, choose one of these effects, destroy that monster, or gain life equal to that monster, and during the battle phase, you can fusion summon 1 Earthbound Fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing its materials from your hand, field, and or graveyard. So if you have your Yugioh and your Yugioh on the field, or your other fusion, you can use your Yugioh to use those 2 monsters to fusion summon together to get out Yugioh that much easier onto the field as well. With our other Synchro monsters being the 1 copy of Stardust Charge Warrior, 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, 1 Clear Wing or Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, 1 Scarred Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Baron de Fleur, and the 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend to finish off the rest of the Synchro monsters that we run. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the Earthbound monsters that we run for our prisoners really do help to set up a good majority of our plays, having either the special summon or the search for our additional monsters. So if you have Stone Sweeper and also the Ground Keeper in your hand, you can then go for the additional search, discarding off your Stone Sweeper, and then with this card being able to add your Earthbound Ground Keeper from your deck to your hand, you can then summon out this card, activating the effect to special summon 1 level 5 or lower Earthbound monster from your deck or graveyard, except for Ground Keeper as well. So you have the search taken care of thanks to your Stone Sweeper for the Tuner search, and then you can grab off of your Ground Keeper your other Earthbound monster that we run in the deck, which is our Earthbound Line Walker. When it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Earthbound Prison or Harmonic Synchro Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can then use your Earthbound Line Walker to add the appropriate card from your deck to your hand, being your Harmonic Synchro Fusion, one of the more important cards obviously in the deck to use as well. So you grab that card as well to then use for your summon. The big play here comes down to, if you have the option, you then have the Harmonic Synchro Fusion. You need the additional monster on the field for the Synchro play as well as the Fusion play. But the other one can also come down to the fact, if you have either your field spell or your summon of your other monster, you can either go for the additional special summon of Stone Sweeper beforehand if you control the field spell already, or go for one of your level 5 summons out onto the field using your monsters as well, because then you can use your other Earthbound monster for that additional summon on the field. Because with that card, if you have a level 5 monster to be able to summon out, like let's say with the Ready Fusion, you can then summon out your Yugioh the D-Knight onto the field, going for your level 8 Synchro play using your Line Walker and the level 5 one you summoned out, summoning out your Yugioh onto the field, then using the Yugioh to summon out your Stone Sweeper back onto the field as well. Having the Synchro Fusion, you can then activate this card, fusing and synchro summoning together your Ground Keeper and your Stone Sweeper. Using the Fusion play, you can summon out your Yugioh, needing the 2 Earthbound monsters, and your Yugioh onto the field as well, because then you have your boss monster, the Earthbound Servant Yugioh, but then during the battle phase, you can use Yugioh to fusion together to summon out your Yugioh onto the field as well, giving you these 2 boss monsters with the use of just your Earthbound Servant monsters. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Very, very awesome deck. It's a completely different take than the original Earthbound Immortal deck, but still a very, very fun one at that. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.